In order to make the UI as simple and efficient as possible, we need to follow some design principles. So in this video, let's look at these principles now. The first and foremost UI design principle is clarity. You should design a product in such a way that it enables the user to recognize the elements in the product and predict what will happen next. You should keep in mind that the designs ensure the information is being accurately conveyed and prevent the user from making mistakes. In other words, clarity is the crucial design principle that can deliver a perfect user experience. The next one is user-centered design. A good user interface is easy and natural to use, which avoids confusing the user and does what the user needs. To design a user interface without confusing the user, you should understand who your users are and understand what they want to do. The best way to do this is to talk to them. You need to interview your audience, learn who they are, understand their behaviors, and develop UI designs for them. Doing this exercise will help you prioritize the users rather than the design itself. By following this procedure, you can come up with a good user-centered design. The next UI design principle is simplicity. The UI should be as simple as possible so that users do not need to put much effort while interacting with your product. Strong visual hierarchy. Your interface will be overloaded or disorganized if each individual element has equal importance. So, when you are designing a mobile app or a website, identify the most important elements and differentiate them. Your content should be scannable. Nowadays, it is quite common that users do not read the content. Instead, they just scan the content. So, it is a massive change in the user behavior, and designers shouldn't ignore this. Designers need to facilitate the user by making content scannable, and it is very important to maintain consistency. Let's say you are filling out a web form and there is a submit button in red color and a delete button in green. It doesn't give you a good impression and probably you might have a bad experience. So it is very important that your designs are consistent. Consistent designs can help users to find their most needed information quickly and effectively. User notices details, and sometimes the small details such as button shape can easily make a huge difference to the user experience. So it is very important to perfect the details of your design. The content in the UI should be readable. Users will not read your content if it does not look clear. Designers should always make content readable while following a strong visual hierarchy. This makes the interface both usable and visually appealing. Color can speak as powerful as any other element on your interface. Human beings tend to be naturally attracted by beautiful visual appearance. Color is one of the key factors that can set the basic tone and mood of the interfaces. So, use colors wisely in the UI design. Safety is everything. The system should help users avoid bad outcomes. For example, when the user encounters a potentially dangerous decision, the system should show a prompt message and notify the user about that. It will make users feel safe and comfortable. Responding to the user is also one of the most important UI design principles. Every time a user performs an action, the interface should respond to them. As a designer, you should try to improve the efficiency of the interface. The best way to do this is to perform task analysis. So, you should imagine yourself as a user, try to imitate the user's process, understand the user's goals, and then streamline the process as much as possible. You should ensure that users can reach their goals quickly and easily, and your design should provide all the details that might be required during the interaction. Human friendly. Remember to put the user in the front and center when working on your UI. Apply personalization and bring in human friendly options to the user. For example, allow users to change the color of the background according to their taste. Directional cues. Don't expect that users will explore your product on their own. You need to use directional cues to guide your user and make the way to the conversion easily. One of the important aspects of UI design principles is feedback, and it is one of the easiest ways to communicate with the user and get timely and relevant feedback. Interaction. A user always expects to interact with the digital world through an interface. The interface should never break the connections between humans and machines, so you should ensure that the interfaces are never broken. The next UI design principle is organized layout. Whenever it comes to designing websites, getting a well organized layout is very critical. A clear, concise, logical, and well organized layout helps the user understand your interface easily and quickly. The last UI design principle is emphasize important elements. Users spend at most 90 seconds to evaluate products online, which means you only have several seconds to convince the users. So, within this very short span of time, you should be able to convince the users into using your product. So, what you should do is highlight all the essential information and reduce all the other irrelevant information about the product so that the chance of success is maximized. So these are the UI design principles that you should keep in mind while designing a user interface. And heavily we are going to use all these principles in this course.